Grimm to the brim. Grimm to the brim. Grimm to the brim to the brim.
I like that. Grimm to the brim.
Hello and welcome to Grimm to the Brim. It's a podcast where we listen to some Grimm's fairy tales and we're going to just talk about them a bit. Joining me this week, I've got a few people here and they're just going to introduce themselves. We've got myself and I am, of course, David Mustardface. And let's not forget Andy, who has a different name each week. What is it this week, Andy?
This week I'm AndyDunderhead. Dundercleft.
And that's the voice of
Kate Paintpots.
And together we're going to be reading through some Grimm's fairy tales this week. So let's just start the episode. Oh, I almost forgot. We have a special new co-host.
I'm Bananananks, and I'm a bit basic.
Basic bitch.
Wow. We haven't introduced Jen yet. Is Jen in the room?
Jen, are you there?
You see, when Jen speaks, it's
Yes.
just harp noise that comes out. She doesn't actually use English words.
It's beautiful as always.
Yeah, it's getting her to shut up. That's the problem.
Often I just throw a curtain over her, you know, or a blanket. At least dampens the sound.
You could just take her out of your soundproof room.
You know what you need? You need a harp top.
A harp tarp. There we go. Get on eBay.
I wonder if such a product exists.
Take it to Dragon's Den. Deborah Meaden is waiting for you. She's tapping her nails together while she's sat with her 50 grand, and she wants you to come to her with this idea for a harp tarp.
I just need to set it up so that, like, I'm trying to introduce a product, and no one can hear us because Jen just keeps playing the harp, and I'm like, you know what? Let me just get this for a sec, and then throw a harp tarp on it. I'm like, that's actually what I'm here to talk to you about.
It sounds great, but I can just imagine the sort of awkward elevator ride, and then you're going to have to wheel her out and plonk her in the middle of the room. Just, you're going to make eye contact through that. Should we take a moment to address last week's story and the terrible hate I've been getting?
The hate?
He's been getting...
My letterbox has been crammed.
Yeah, the hate mail he's been getting.
Has it all been from that guy? What is he called?
Howard.
It's just Howard, signed Howard every time.
I fucking knew it was you.
You dundercleft.
I'm on to you. I know where you live. I'm going to take your eyes.
Yeah, I mean, we thought he was dead, but...
So I guess there's some stories, like, if we can just get Jen back in. Jen, look, just one blast, okay? We haven't got all day. All right, go on.
I can barely hear her under that top.
Oh, let me lift the top. Oh, in one sec. Right.
Well, fucking hell, David. I wasn't prepared for that.
Go on then, do it again.
There we go.
So let's have a story then. Some kind of grim story.
Yes, my story.
It's not yours, is it?
No, it's not my story. I will not take credit for this. But this story is called The Pack of Ragamuffins. The cock once said to the hen, "It is now the time when the nuts are ripe. So let us go to the hill together and for once eat our fill before the squirrel takes them all away." "Yes," replied the hen. "Come, we will have some pleasure together." Then they went away to the hill, and as it was a bright day, they stayed till evening. I do not know whether it was that they had eaten till they were too fat, or whether they had become proud, but they would not go home on foot, and the cock had to build a little carriage of nutshells. When it was ready, the little hen seated herself in it, and said to the cock, "Thou canst just harness thyself to it." "I like that," said the cock. "I would rather go home on foot than let myself be harnessed to it. No, that is not our bargain. I do not mind being coachman and sitting on the box, but drag it myself I will not."
Thought for a second there he was going to be well pussy whipped. It sounded like he was for it. Get in front there and pull this goddamn carriage. Of course, I would prefer to do that anyway than sit in it. Wait, hold on a second.
In fairness, they're sitting in a nut carriage. Bear in mind.
Yep.
So,
What's weird about that?
is the hen tiny or is it like a really big nut?
Maybe it's loads of nuts strung together. Like hazelnuts. You know, like them car seats you used to get for bad backs in like the 70s that were like wooden balls. Maybe
Taxi drivers still have those.
They do, yes. Maybe it was a carriage made out of one of them.
That sounds pretty styling.
I always thought those would be really comfortable, like, and also good for if you've got a sweaty back, so it keeps you separated from the fabric. Anybody else
Hens
worry
always
about
have
that?
sweaty back.
Yeah, it's true. Just try rubbing your hand down a hen's back.
Soaking this.
As they were thus disputing, a duck quacked to them. "You thieving folks! Who bade you go to my nut hill? Wait, you shall suffer for it," and ran with open beak at the cock. But the cock also was not idle, and fell boldly on the duck, and at last wounded her so with his spurs that she begged for mercy, and willingly let
Spurs?
herself be harnessed to the carriage as a punishment.
As a punishment? She was like, yes, you've defeated me. Strap me to
Yeah.
this carriage. As opposed, did she call them thieving fucks? You thieving fucks, bring them nuts back.
Is this one of those cases where you put duck instead of fuck? Is that what this whole story is, just typos?
It's all about spell check.
It's all about euphemisms.
Yeah, when I read this yesterday, I was really worried about my pronunciation there of thieving folks, but I guess I fucked up.
Oh, thieving folks.
Folks, yeah. Like,
Oh, I thought she
like
said
you
thieving fucks.
people.
That's why I was like, well, this isn't very grim. You thieving fucks, the duck yelled.
This,
How?
this little squat duck comes running out. "Get your fucking hands off my nuts." The little cock now seated himself on the box and was coachman, and thereupon they went off in a gallop with, "Duck, go as fast as thou canst." When they had driven a
Why
part
is
of
the
the way,
cock
they
now
met.
northern?
Uh,
Duck,
vo-
you can go faster than that, pet. Come here, jog on.
They're really shits to this duck. I think they're just bad.
We're going
Bad
yum in a hurry,
poetry.
pet. How
Can we just rewind a minute? So they managed to just like hurt a duck and convince it to be a horse for them.
Yes. Next question.
Right. How does that work?
Because the duck has no self-esteem.
Yeah.
Like if someone ran you over in a car, you wouldn't be like, "Oh, sorry, mate, I'll push the car for you if it doesn't work anymore."
They just hurt it
It's
a
a
bit,
strange
like,
one.
like a nip on the arm, or like just a slap.
Yeah, this
Just a-
this duck comes charging out and squares up to the cock, and then the cock's like, "Hey, I've got spurs. Do you want to?
Kick you.
Do you want to back down? Maybe rethink this." And then he just sort of becomes really submissive and gets on the front of the coach.
All right. All
Well,
right,
I guess I fucked up here. On we go.
Do you want to back down, mate?
And it's really sinister when you say it slowly.
I've got
You think?
spurs.
Do you maybe want to back down, pal?
Softer the better. Got spurs. Do you want to back down?
Yeah.
Have a look at my feet. Look. Got spurs.
When they had driven a part of the way, they met two foot passengers, a pin and a needle. They cried, "Stop, stop," and said that it would soon be as dark as pitch, and then they could go not a step further, and that it was so dirty on the road, and asked if they could not get into the carriage for a while. They had been at the tailor's public house by the gate, and had stayed too long over the beer. As they were thin people who did not take up much room, the cock let them both get in, but they had to promise him and his little hen not to step on their feet. Late in the evening they came to an inn, and as they did not like to go further by night, and as the duck also was not strong on her feet, and fell from one side to the other, they went in. The host at first made many objections. His house was already full. Besides, he thought they could not be very distinguished persons. But at last, as they made pleasant speeches and told him that he should have the egg which the little hen had laid on the way, and should likewise keep the duck, which laid one every day, He at length said that they might stay the night. And now they had themselves well served, and feasted and rioted. Early in the morning, when day was breaking, and everyone was asleep, the cock awoke the hen, brought the egg, pecked it open, and they ate it together. But they threw the shell on the hearth. Then they went to the needle, which was still asleep, took it by the head, and stuck it into the cushion of the landlord's chair, and put the pin in his towel, and at last, without more ado, they flew away over the heath. This whole fucking time they could fly. It's just madness. The duck, who liked to sleep in the open air and had stayed in the yard, heard them going away, made herself merry, and found a stream, down which she swam, which was a much quicker way of travelling than being harnessed to a carriage. The host did not get out of bed for 2 hours after this. He washed himself and wanted to dry himself. Then the pin went over his face and made a red streak from one ear to the other. After this he went into the kitchen and wanted to light a pipe. But he quickly started up again and cried, "Woe is me!" For the needle had pricked him still worse than the pin, and not in the head.
Wow. Oof.
It's easy to imagine where that was. Now he was thoroughly angry and suspected the guests who had come so late the night before, and when he went and looked about for them, they were gone. Then he made a vow to take no more ragamuffins into his house, for they consume much, pay for nothing, and play mischievous tricks into the bargain by way of gratitude. The end.
Could he not just make a rule of not letting in any hens and cocks who've strapped a
No,
duck
specifically.
to
Just
a
a sign will
harness?
do.
So the duck didn't even get vengeance after
Clearly
all.
not.
No, he just swam away.
What the shit?
I mean, it's nice that he escaped and he wasn't going to have to, be the innkeeper's servant.
I thought it was going to be like a Django-style situation.
For real.
Disappointed.
No. You never get what you want with these stories.
This is true.
They end abruptly.
Yeah.
Unless you want a duck as a horse.
That's the maddest one we've had.
It is.
Oh, yeah, it's hard to top that.
It's had some moments, but really it's just a ridiculous story.
Did the hen and the cock eat the egg, or was
Yeah,
that?
they ate it.
So they ate her period.
Ugh.
Yes, that's what they did.
Hey David, I got a lovely breakfast lined up for tomorrow.
Wow.
Aw.
Yeah, that's keto though, isn't it?
It probably is.
So you start keto.
Why are they called ragamuffins?
Because they got drunk and didn't pay for out and strapped a duck to a
You
harness.
ragamuffins.
That's worse.
What more of a description do you want? You strap a duck to a harness, you're instantly a fucking ragamuffin. There's no two ways about it.
I mean, I think this story is so old that this is the actual dictionary definition of ragamuffins.
Yeah.
I always thought a ragamuffin was like a rogue, like a cheeky rogue.
No, it's a person or persons who strap unwitting ducks to harnesses and use them for transport purposes.
Duck slavers who are abusive.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think we all agree with that.
I've always known that.
So the moral of the story is
Never trust a cock. Just stick to one profession. Don't be a tailor and a barkeep. If he'd stuck to tailoring,
that's a good point.
he wouldn't have run the bar and he'd been all right, wouldn't he?
I think this was a different bar, though, because they travelled in between that. They picked up the pin and the needle from the tailor's public house.
Oh, yeah.
And they were only thin people, so they didn't take up much room, but they were also absolutely smashed.
And they're described as people.
Well, how would you describe them instead of people?
What? Things?
They were
Sewing
thin
equipment?
pin and needles. Sewing
We're
equipment.
only thin sewing equipment. So, thoughts on that story? Well, I think we've been very clear on how we feel about that story. Load of shite. We've got a reel to the Breal coming up. Reel to the Breal. Let's just explain briefly to our audience here that Reel to the Breal is where we take stories from our real life and tell them with a Grimm's fairy tale feel and vibe. Kate Paintpots is going to treat us all to a Reel to the Breal for the ages. Take it away, Kate.
Long, long ago, there lived a miller and his wife. The the miller did not enjoy his work and much preferred the labours of the carpenter trade. As much as he loved building things, the extent of his knowledge was the building of squares. He built square after square, and even extended their cosy cottage with a vast array of extra rooms and walls that, some might say, were somewhat unstable. At first, the miller's wife protested, but this did not persuade him to stop building, and so she ceased her admonitions and kept quiet. Once she ventured to suggest that he paint their scullery in a colour of her choosing, but he immediately silenced her and told her that her place was with the pots and pans, and his was to see to the progression of the mill house. The miller's wife was affronted by his words and devised a plan of her own. She took to the marketplace and bought several small pails of paint of a greyish colour which she liked, and returned home and placed them in various hidden spots around the mill house, out of sight of her husband. Now the miller liked to work by night and sleep by day, for he was an eccentric character. The miller's wife, therefore, waited until he slumbered, and then took out her brush and the small tins of paint and began slowly painting a small area of the scullery. Upon waking the next day, the miller did not notice the small area of a different colour and continued building his squares. That night, his wife again took up her brush and painted another small area of the scullery. This continued night after night for a month, without the miller noticing that anything was different. After she had finished, the miller's wife was pleased with her work and her triumph over her husband. The miller woke late in the day, as was his custom, and came into the scullery where his wife was making tea. He looked around bewildered and asked, "Something is different in here. What is it?" "Oh, nothing," replied his wife. "Are the walls a different colour?" exclaimed the miller. "Well, perhaps, yes, they are a smidge different shade, perhaps," said his wife slowly, wary of his reaction once he realised the truth. "I rather like it," smiled the miller happily. The miller's wife was relieved. They lived for many happy years with their clean and smart grey scullery, hosting many villagers, who, it can be said, later died of unnatural causes due to the lead in the paint, which the miller and his wife seemed to be immune to. The end. So the real life situation. So Dave's dad was a bit of a DIY enthusiast. And he did like everything in the house, like not the electrics half the time didn't work because he DIY'd all the electrics. And he would, Dave's mum would come home one day and there was a wall where there hadn't been a wall there before in the living room. And eventually she just kind of was like, oh, whatever. And she just let him crack on. Every time I walked into that house, Ray was building some form of square or box every single time. And it became a running joke that he was just building squares for fun. And, Dave's mum wanted to paint the kitchen a different colour and Dave's dad would never let her. Just leave it as it is. I like it how it is. Don't do it. And because he stayed up like till, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, he would sleep most of the day. So she did go out and get a tin of paint and she did paint really small. It was like Mr. and Mrs. Twit, when he puts the little things on the bottom of her walking stick and it gets
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yes,
I wanted to ask
that's
you
basically what Dave's mum did. She painted a small area of the kitchen over a period of, like a few months. And even though his dad used to sit in the kitchen every day and do his jigsaw puzzles, he never noticed. And the kitchen was a completely different colour for weeks before he kind of looked around and went, "Is the kitchen a different colour?" And Dave's mum was like, "Maybe." And he was like, "It's nice. I like it." So she'd been
Not like David when he painted his room black around the furniture.
I think that was more of a sudden thing. You just walked in and it was done.
Yeah. No, this was a period over months and Dave's dad never noticed.
So sad though that she was like, "I just want to paint the kitchen," and I was like, "No." Right, well I'll do it secretly.
Anyway.
It's like, "Oh, you've painted our house for us." All right then.
Yeah,
fine.
she did it anyway, and then it turned out in the end he actually liked it. So she didn't need to do it in secret at all.
I thought you were talking about you and Dave before. I was like, that's fucking tragic. Like, is Dave going to kick off if you paint? I would have thought it was different in your house. You'd say, "Dave, I want the house a different colour," and then it would be done.
No, yeah, exactly. I say, "Dave, I want the house a different colour," and he goddamn does it.
I thought there was a tragic, secret there. Like, no, actually, I painted, all the painting that you've done has been in secret while he's been in bed, but no. I'm relieved to know that's not true.
No, that's you, David.
Yeah, but I only paint this one room. That's the only room I've ever painted in secret.
And the bathroom.
Oh, wow, that was supposed to be grey.
And you drunkenly bought the wrong colour.
I bought it, right? It was supposed to be grey, And he mixed it, and I was like, that looks purple, like. And I painted the whole fucking bathroom, and I was like, wait a minute, this is purple. It's been purple for 5 years. I didn't want it purple. I wanted it grey.
How did you paint the whole thing without realising that it wasn't grey?
I thought it would change colour.
thought it would dry
it's like a different colour when it dries. I really did. I was like, it's gonna dry different. And I was
this
like,
bright
wait,
purple is definitely going to dry grey.
It totally never did. And I was like, oh, fuck's sake, it is definitely purple. And, I just had to commit.
Can we hear more about these boxes and squares?
Dave's daddy was just obsessed with building. Every time I saw him building something in the kitchen, it was a square. Like,
but what did he do with them? Where did they go?
he would assemble. He would assemble squares into
He'd
something.
make larger squares out of squares.
Yeah, like he built he built a bar in the living room. Much to Dave's mum's kind of exasperation. He put
the bar was
he
great.
put three squares together and then built a frame of squares as the frame, and then he built a square for a roof, and then he would build like a square for a gate, and he had this thing where he was just
I guess when you think about it, everything could be built out of squares.
he I mean, Dave.
But what do you mean? Like, are they square bricks, square wood?
No, it was
like
it was always pieces of wood that he'd like reclaimed from like a pallet or somebody's fence or something like that.
Reclaimed from somebody's
usually
fence.
their own, because the kids used to pull it apart on bonfire night because they're
okay. I thought you meant like
gardener.
you just sort of. I'll take.
No,
that
it wasn't
from
like in
someone else's.
the middle of the night, like stripy jumper and a balaclava stealing people's fence panels.
I need my squares.
No, but he looked. Every time I saw him, he was building a square. And Dave's his mum used to come home some days, and like the living room would be a completely different shape, or there would be a completely different route to get upstairs, and it was just like he would change the whole layout of the house, and it's. I mean.
Don't take notes, David.
Since I met Dave, the house changed like layout about 5 or 6 times.
Are we talking like little crawl spaces? Because I think that would be a lot more fun if you came through the front door and you had to sort of duck down and go through a little tunnel.
Dave told me that he came home one day and his dad had like made like a passageway through the kitchen that had a little hatch, so that Dave's mum could stay in the kitchen and pass the beers to Dave's dad and his friends into the living room, and then you had to go like down like a hallway and an alleyway to get upstairs. It is, like
nice.
By the end, Dave's mum was just kind of like whatever. Like I would come in, I'd be like, Sue, what has Ray done now? And she's like, I give in. I don't care anymore. She was she's a broken woman.
I've engineered the kitchen so you can pass me beers without coming out to where I am. Fucking hell.
You can keep doing dishes. You don't need to worry.
It's a real tragedy. When you first said that this miller made squares, I was like, fucking hell, I have no idea what a miller does if they make squares.
They make bread.
This is news to me. I know,
Like
right?
Rice
That's
Krispie
what
squares.
I thought.
They make squares of
I
bread.
mean, yeah,
rectangles.
bread is kind of square.
That's true.
Yeah.
True. So what was the actual takeaway from the story? Just to bring you back to the reel to the Breal. Everyone died from lead poisoning, but
I mean, nobody died, but I had
But live
to
your
make
best
it
life.
that
Nobody
everybody
died.
died, didn't I? I mean,
Had to
they
grim it
didn't
up.
kill the neighbourhood, for God's sake. I think that probably would have been in,
just checking.
it would have
I'm
been
just
in the
checking.
papers somewhere. I mean, I don't think they killed any of their neighbours. Well, in fact, they didn't, because their neighbours still live exactly where they've lived for the last 30 years.
Just trying to preempt all of the hate mail,
Did she paint in squares as well?
I don't know.
You would have
she
spotted
did
that.
the same thing he did.
If she'd
That's
done it
why
in
he didn't
squares, he would have
notice.
been all over it.
She did a good job. Put it this way.
Do you think he was just trying to play it cool when he noticed? Like inside, he was like screaming.
No, I think he liked
just
it, because
play it
if he
down.
didn't like it, he definitely would have told her to repaint the whole kitchen back again.
Oof.
Men, huh?
I know, right?
Did women last week, now it's men.
I just wanted to make a comment, but I can't because I feel like David's going to turn it into a reel to the
What?
Breal. If he doesn't, it's a travesty.
What?
I can't tell you because it'll spoil it. The ghost train.
Oh, fuck off. No, I'm not doing that.
You've got to.
I wish you'd bought
Yeah,
it.
in the reel to the Breal, I might.
I'm glad that we
I'm
didn't.
curious.
That would have been cool. That's the kind of thing Dave would have it in the living room.
I just love how he sold it as like, it's got tracks, it works.
There's no reason not to get it. I didn't get it. It was tragic.
Here's a question. What makes the ghost train sound? It's not something to do with the movement of the cart. I presume not.
What do you mean the sound?
Oh, don't put me on the spot. But you know what I mean? It's like that kind of
Baited.
I think that's just like a siren, like an air raid siren type thing.
Yeah, but
What does a ghost train sound like, Andy?
maybe it needs some Doppler in there as well. It's like
What ghost train have you been on?
That sounds like a northern woman chasing a woman who's got the last Primark t-shirt she wants out the store.
Whoa.
That's the most terrifying ghost train I've ever been on by the sound of it. Like, fucking hell. I'm on that
Like
now.
that time you went to the post office, David, and that woman was like, did the loudest you've ever heard.
Yeah. I rang the bell like twice because they weren't paying any attention. She just shrieked before coming out. She was outraged.
Every time we tell it, it gets more outrageous. Like the pitch is higher.
I can't even do the note. It's so high. Go on, give us a blast.
I once took a parcel that needed to go to America, right, to the post office. And you know they normally put like one of those like big labels on that's like international mail. And that's the postage paid and that's it. And it gets sent off there and then. Well, she didn't have any international labels. She only had, and I didn't even know they made these anymore, right? She only had 1p stamps. So she covered the entire parcel, leaving a teeny weeny little square in the middle with 1p stamps to amount for the postage.
Taking the piss?
No, she wasn't. She was just an idiot.
How long did that take?
That was my... I mean, I was there a good half hour, 45 minutes. And that was my Etsy store. That person that fucking got that parcel, I bet they thought I was a daft twat.
They probably thought you were trolling.
Like, have you got enough stamps on
How
it?
creative. Oh, wow.
Like, you know...
I want to do it.
It's like £7.90's worth of 1p stamps. do you know what I mean? So it was like stamps overlapping stamps. I was like, you taking the piss or what? She was like, well, I've run out. I will fucking boo for you.
Ran out of stamps from this century.
Send me to a different post office for fuck's sake. What you doing?
I've run out. Like, it was like 11 in the morning, still several more hours to go. Well, I'll have to get the pen. I don't know if there's enough space on this to send it to Kent.
Like, okay,
you know,
I
47 pence.
Apart from anything, why would they even make 1p stamps?
I didn't know such a thing existed in this decade.
Neither did I until then.
I don't think it does. I think
It
you just
does.
stole your package.
Did it ever get there?
No, I saw her. It
Took
did. To be
6
fair,
years.
it did get there, and they didn't actually. They didn't give me a review.
No
either,
review.
so.
Curious.
But no, legit. She covered it in 1p stamps,
Tragic.
and I just kind of looked at her like, "Are you for fucking real?" And she was.
We should have.
She was gabbering away to a friend about a holiday
We
at
should
the same
have
time.
a year for fucking real. The Breal. That's another thing.
David, that'll just be all stories about you.
And I said, a year fucking real to the Breal.
That's-
That'll be the theme song for us. So we need an outro, a strong outro. What's it going to be?
I want it to be something about getting in the carriage and leaving. So how can we work
Get your
that
duck and off your fuck.
Wow.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Get your duck and off your fuck.
Get your duck
and off your fuck.
That's pretty good.
Brilliant.
Well, listen, it's been emotional. Thank you all for your time. And catch you.
Yes, thanks everybody for coming to our nut hill this week.
Grim to the brim.
Quack.
Grim to the brim. Grim to the brim to the brim.
I like that. Grim to the brim.
No, get your duck. Get the
Make
hell
like a
outta here.
duck.
Make like a duck and leave.
But you know what I mean? It's like that ooh, kind of